Hey everybody, my name is Chastity Sereal and you are now tuned into Sereal Sundays.
All of this melanin shining, lavender shea butter on my skin. My natural curls defining, it's such a beautiful sighting. I got on all surreal, it's all on my clothes. Black women stand together, it's good for the soul. My friends are real friends, okay, okay. Your friends are.
So, to give y'all an insight on what Sereal Sundays will be about, it's just going to be, behind the scenes of what I do, whether it's working on a client's garment or backstage at a fashion show or behind the scenes of a photo shoot, all things fashion and giving you a little bit of insight on the things that I actually do. So for this first episode, y'all are actually getting a 2-for-1 because I had a client that needed 2 garments made. Yes, 2. So let's talk about it. This particular client celebrated her 30th birthday party in style. She actually had a super fun theme for her party. If you can't guess by, what I'm wearing, it was Studio 54. Now, when you hear Studio 54, who is that person that comes to mind? Because for me, it's Cher. When I tell you this woman slayed back in the day and that woman could dress her butt off, we actually used her as inspiration for her looks. It was all things glitz, all things glamour, all things sparkle. And yeah, so let's get into those looks, shall we? Okay, so for both looks, my client wanted them to complement each other without looking the same or similar in any way. So the first look was a jumpsuit and the second look was a dress. So for the first look, which was her jumpsuit, she wanted something that was fit to flare, of course, bell-bottom style. And, we went back and forth with fabrics. I sent her inspirations of things that I found, but she was really wanting something that was in the bronze tone. She really wanted metallic, but she wanted a bronze. And that was just so hard to find online. So I went to the fabric store one day and I think I was either shopping for another client or myself, and I stumbled across this beautiful bronze knit fabric. When I saw it, I said, oh my God, let me send this picture to her right now. And so I did. And then I found this beautiful, heavily beaded lace that complemented the knit oh so well. And I did a little kindergarten sketch right then and there on the back of a piece of paper, sent it to her, explained what it would look like, the vision for it, and she loved it. So boom, let's get into that sketch. So you guys, my client is actually the size of our mannequins, so I went straight into draping and cutting the fashion fabric on the mannequins. And I cut the pants first and then added the mesh top, and then to follow that I put in the sleeves with the black bra cups because I didn't want her to have to wear a bra and yet she could still be comfortable without anything showing. Okay you guys, so let's get into this beaded lace motif. So I am using a wood burner to actually cut out this lace motif. I'm just going around tracing it because, when you use scissors, you run the risk of cutting through the actual thread and then, beads fall off, and we don't want that. And so to get off the excess of the mesh that the motif was on, I use a lighter, but I don't run it under the lighter for too long because it will melt the threads, which can also cause beads to fall off, and that's what we don't want. Okay, so on to my favorite part, and that is using the motifs, playing with them, putting them in different areas. Of course, we want to cover up the black bra cups. We don't want to be able to see those. So I love this process. It's almost like creating a fun little puzzle piece. I take them off, put them on, see how they flow, see what they do, and until I get the shape that I want, which is always fun. Now on to hand stitching the lace. So here I'm using a clear thread. Now clear thread is not as sturdy as all-purpose thread, but I like to use clear thread for motifs like this that are kind of sheer, have see-through parts, and those long strings of beads. I don't want a thick thread to be noticeable. So it's easier to disguise something that's clear rather than something that's the actual color, because the beads are shiny, and if you use the all-purpose thread, the all-purpose thread is dull, and you don't want, you know, a mix of those tones together. So yes, I love to use clear thread when I am hand sewing motifs such as this. And voila, she is done and ready to go. I can't wait till y'all see how awesome and bad my client looked in this jumpsuit, y'all. Okay, you guys, so let's get into look number 2. My client wanted a mini dress that was a statement piece. So she wanted it to have that disco Studio 54 all around, give me a good Cher moment vibe, and that's exactly what we achieved. So what I had to do was I went to source a fabric that would give me that faux fur look. And there's always pros and cons when shopping online for material, because looks can be deceiving. That's the con, because I ordered this, what I thought would be a faux fur fringe-ish type fabric. And I guess the vendor took a picture of it close up and made it seem like the feathers were longer than what they were in person, because when I got it, it kind of looked like a shaggy rug. It gave me shaggy rug vibes. So we did not want that. So I was on the hunt to find a fringe to add on top of that that would give me the look that I wanted to achieve. So I found fringes that had sequins on it, and I really didn't like those because they kind of looked a little cheap to me. And I didn't want to go just a straight full fringe because I didn't want it to tap into a Great Gatsby look. So I stumbled across this beautiful, what was it called? It was called a bohemian textured fringe. So it was a regular straight fringe, but it had texture on it. I loved it. It was the one. I said, that's it. We have to get it. Well, what I actually liked about combining the bohemian fringe with the faux fur fabric that I bought initially is that the faux fur fabric actually kind of gave the fringe volume because of its thickness in the fur. When I sewed it, it didn't lay flat. It kind of sat up just a little bit, and I really like that. So let's get into this sketch.
You go girl, I say you go girl. My Gina, aka my world, psychedelic, gotta keep the groove. On the blues in your left, funky in your right, soul in your eyes, jazz on your mind. Dance through the night, cool off with some ice, I might crash for the night. I can barely drive when the liquor combines, probably mesmerized by the beauty I find. The perfect curves on the perfect girl. You wanna ride? Space shuttle takes off at 10, I'm giving you the green light. Real fantasies on higher heights. Ride with your boy Ice. Systems go. I'm giving you the green light. Giving you the green light.
So just like the first look, I went ahead and went straight to cutting the fashion fabric onto the mannequin, draping it on there, cutting the silhouette, cutting out where she wanted the plunging V. I also wanted to add some sheer sides to it, and voila, there it is. So the faux fur fabric was actually a 4-way stretch fabric, and I did not want to run the risk of making the dress bigger if I use the machine, you know, accidentally stretching it out, and then the trim, adding the trim, and then once I take it from under the machine, it's way too big. So I prefer to hand sew it to the entire dress. That way I can actually get a visual of where the trim is gonna lay on the dress, as well as keeping that same structure and that same shape that I initially wanted. For the sleeves, you guys, I actually did use my machine to sew on the trim. They were wide bell sleeves, so it didn't matter if the fabric did stretch or not because we wanted them wide. So when sewing this trim onto the dress, it all fell straight. So I went in and, you know, gave the trim a little haircut and cut into angles so we could still see that sexy silhouette without losing so much of the trim. So you guys, I found another beautiful beaded lace motif, all white with silver stones incorporated, and I thought it would go perfect to add to the sheer elements on her dress to give a little bit of more glamour as well as shine. Okay, you guys, when it came to sewing these beaded motifs, I actually did go for an all-purpose white thread. Because the motifs were fully beaded with white beads, it was easy to disguise the white. All I had to do was just lift up the motif and sew right behind it just to grasp onto the motif so the thread would be disguised. Okay guys, so one thing I like to do when I'm adding stones to a garment, I don't like it laying flat. I need to see it, you know, face to face up on my mannequin. So what do you do to your mannequin? You saran wrap that thing, okay? So the saran wrap protects it from getting any type of glue residue, or worst case scenario, gluing your client's garment to your mannequin. That's a big no-no. And it's easy to peel off as well. Once the glue is dry, you literally can just peel off the saran wrap on the back and it comes off. The crystals are in place and all is well. Here is where I'm adding the Swarovski crystals inside the white lace motifs just to give her dress a little bit more sparkle and shine when the light hits it. Okay, so are y'all ready to see her in this second look? Here it is.
Dancing around your feet until the beat start again. Oh, and then do it the same.
Okay, you guys, so I hope y'all enjoyed the very first episode of Sereal Sundays. I hope y'all loved my clients' looks. I really enjoyed creating them, and I'll see y'all next Sunday.